gieo mầm yêu thương, hạnh phúc đồng hành cùng con trẻ. Gieo mầm yêu thương.
You are listening to the bilingual fairy tale series, a product from Cultural House of Youth in Ho Chi Minh City. Hello there, children. I wonder if you, listening to this story, love eating sweets such as biscuits, chocolate cream cake, butter cookies, gummy bears, strawberry jams. Oh dear, my mouth is watering from just listening to it. If so, try to imagine a whole house made of sweet, with crunchy roofs, walls made of honey-covered biscuits, and cheese jellies on the window sills. Wow, what a delicious and irresistible house, don't you think? However, don't let the appearance fool you, as there could be a danger lurking. To discover the secret of the house made of sweets lying deep inside the woods, together, let's listen to the story named Hansel and Gretel. Once upon a time, there was a brother and sister named Hansel and Gretel who lived in a hut in the woods with their father and stepmother. The stepmother had no empathy towards the children. They were not allowed to eat until the stepmother finished taking everything she wanted off the plates. Most of the time, there was only a crust of bread left. And all day long, they had to do hard chores for their stepmother. What's more, the stepmother always talked about how much trouble it was to have children in the hut, and how much she wished they would go away forever. One day, when the father went to town to buy food for the family, the stepmother ordered Hansel and Gretel to follow her to the forest to pick mushrooms. Hansel could sense that something was not right. He saved some bread crust from his breakfast and hid it in his pocket. When they reached the woods, the stepmother commanded, "You must pick a basket full of mushrooms, or else you won't get dinner tonight. The best mushrooms only grow in the deepest part of the woods, so keep searching." They went deeper and deeper into the woods. The stepmother planned to leave children in the woods so that they would never have to take care of them again. Hansel was a smart boy and had figured out the stepmother's evil plan. He carefully dropped one breadcrumb after another all the way into the woods. As soon as the stepmother disappeared in sight, he told Gretel, "Don't worry, just follow the trails of the breadcrumbs I made, and we will find our way home." Yet, when they looked for breadcrumbs, there were none to be found. Hansel and Gretel were struck with fear and grief. The birds must have eaten on their breadcrumbs. The sun was setting in the forest. Hansel and Gretel were lost and hungry. Now they were scared too. Gretel whispered in fear, "Hansel, what will we do?" Each minute it was getting darker and darker, and they heard a wolf howling in the distance. All of a sudden, Gretel saw a small light shining far away. Could it be someone's hut in this deep of the woods? Gretel cried, "Let's just find out. Maybe whoever lives there is kind and will help us." The two children ran as fast as they could into the light. When they got closer, they could not believe their eyes. You can imagine, from top to bottom, The strange hut was made of all kinds of sweets. Its walls were made of gingerbread, with frosting all over the colorful candies tucked into the icing. The door was made of milk chocolate, and the windowsills were peppermint candy canes. Even the roof was topped with delicious ice cream. What a sight to see! Hansel cried out, "I bet it would be okay if we have just a little taste." Both of them were starving, so they broke small chunks off the walls and ate the sweets. A sharp voice suddenly echoed, "Who is nibbling on my house?" Hansel and Gretel spun around and saw an old, angry lady standing at the doorway. Stunned, Gretel could only speak in a faint voice. "We are so sorry, ma'am. We are so hungry." The old lady dropped her voice. "Well then, come inside. I'll get something for you to eat." Hansel and Gretel looked at each other in delight. They escaped into the magical hut and were treated with a fine meal of hot soup and bread, with lots of fruits and sweets. Right after the meal, the two children were really tired, and so they fell asleep immediately. The next morning, when they woke up, Hansel found himself locked in the cage, and the old lady turned out to be an evil witch. She roared, "That's where your brother will stay. Every day I will fatten him up, and soon he will make me a fine dinner." She laughed and laughed, rubbing her hands with glee. "Until then," she said sharply to Gretel, "you will work for me." Oh dear, we finally discovered the owner of the house of sweets. And for what purpose? Hansel and Gretel were very careless to believe in the words from a stranger and even entered the stranger's house. How dangerous that action can be. Let's continue the story to know in what ways Hansel and Gretel dealt with the wicked witch. Indeed, Hansel was well fed and Gretel were all day doing chores for the witch. Each morning, the witch came near the cage and said to the boy, "Show me your finger. I will feel how fat you are getting." The old witch could not see well, so every time she asked, Hansel picked up a chicken bone from the floor and held it to her instead. Said the witch, touching the bone and thinking it was the boy's finger. "You are still too skinny. This is going to take longer than I thought." At night, Hansel whispered to her sister, "I cannot fool the witch forever. How can we escape out of here?" Gretel wished she had the answer. All she could do was hug her poor brothers tight over the cage's bars. One day, after checking on Hansel, the witch yelled, "I cannot wait any longer. The boy will be my dinner tonight, no matter how skinny he is." The witch ordered Gretel to start the fire in the oven at once. Gretel tried to work as slowly as she could. When the fire had started in the oven, the witch said with a slow grin, "Be a dear and go inside the oven, won't you? Tell me if it is hot enough." Gretel's heart skipped a beat. She looked down. "I'm not sure how to tell." "Nonsense," said the witch. "Nothing could be easier. Just go in." Gretel said slowly, Could you please show me first? Stupid girl! Snapped the witch. Mumbling and grumbling, she poked her head in the oven. The moment the witch was inside, Gretel pushed the witch into the oven and quickly slammed the door. Gretel! Hansel cried out, "You saved us!" Gretel looked everywhere for the key to the cage. At last, she found it under the witch's bed. While searching, she also found piles and piles of precious jewels under the bed. She freed her brother from the cage right away. Then they filled their pockets with the jewels and ran outside as fast as they could. In the daylight, they soon found a small path and followed it. They soon saw a horse carriage trot up in the path and signaled to the driver. When the carriage stopped, the children offered a small jewel, and the driver was happy to give them a ride home. The father was wild with joy to see his kids returning home safe and sound. He had looked for 9 days since they were gone. They learned that their stepmother left after she tricked the children into the woods, since she could not bear with poverty any longer. Hansel and Gretel showed their fathers and the jewels, and they never had to worry about money again for the rest of their lives. For many years to come, Hansel and Gretel lived very happily with their father, and they never wandered near the magical hut made of sweets ever again. It is fortunate that Hansel and Gretel had escaped the house made of sweets, thanks to their quick thinking and cleverness. The house of sweets may look alluring on the outside, but it is really a dangerous place, don't you think? Children, please remember not to be like Hansel and Gretel. Do not enter a stranger's house or eat what they offer. That's because you might encounter a witch who wants to fatten and eat you up. That's the end of our adventure today. Do not forget to look forward to the upcoming exciting adventures. Goodbye and stay safe.
Gieo mầm yêu thương hạnh phúc